Okay. Well, thanks for joining us today, this afternoon, on our program with Helen Hudson from SafeShowings. Helen is the CEO and founder of SafeShowings, and it is a free member benefit for all BCAR members. We do appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and we are recording this program. So please feel free when you receive the recording to send and share amongst your colleagues. Just prior to us beginning, I have a couple of brief housekeeping announcements. Please keep yourself on mute during the program. I think everybody is on mute. If I see you're not on mute, I will mute you. It just makes for an easier presentation. Turn your camera on if you want to. We'd love to see your face. It's not a requirement like it is with CE classes, but we'd love to see you if you feel comfortable doing so. We don't mind if you're eating lunch. I know some people take this time to eat lunch. And then at the end of Helen's presentation, she's going to open this up to questions. And if you have any administrative questions, just open your chat box at the bottom of your screen. Okay, Barb has no sound. Barb, are you on mute? Because does everybody else have sound? Is anybody else? Helen, you can hear me, correct?
I hear, definitely, yes.
Okay. Barb, you might want to, I think everybody else is okay. Yeah, I think it might be something on your end, Barb. So you might want to, here, let me see. Yeah, it shows that you're not muted. Now it shows you're muted. All right, you got it. Okay. Anyway, just to get back, if you have any questions, administrative, just as like the one Barb just sent, just send me a chat. If you have any questions or any information that you want the whole group to see, or you want Helen to see, you can just put it into the chat box. Again, just hit to everyone. The chat box is at the bottom of your screen, and everyone will see everyone who has the chat box open will see the presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Helen. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity and your time to share my passion for realtor safety. I am Helen Hudson, the founder of SafeShowings. I'm also a realtor in Charleston, South Carolina. So I live your world day to day as well. I work with buyers and sellers. I do open houses. So I know what you go through each day, and I know your time's valuable. So I want to point out one quick thing right at the beginning to say to you, your association has invested in your safety. That means you have access for free. But if you don't remember anything else I say, do not go to the App Store to download SafeShowings. If you do, you'll be prompted to pay for it. That's for individuals that are not part of a program or a partnership that we have. So if you've already done that, we'll get it straightened out, but just use the link that your association provides. And what you'll hear first is a short video. Think of it as our commercial. It's what we play when we go to trade shows. People walk up and I'm usually talking. So it's a fast way for people to get an understanding of who we are. Then I'll share with you my story, what happened to me 4 years ago that inspired me to create SafeShowings. I'll talk about what makes our app unique, how it can deter crime before it happens. That's so important. And I'll point out the difference between being proactive versus reactive in safety. There's a short video of our app, how it works, the functionality of it. It's about 2.5 minutes long, but you'll kind of get a sneak peek of how the app operates. And then I spend a few minutes going through common questions and answers, because I've done so many of these presentations, I usually can anticipate what questions you might have. And we will allow time at the end for additional questions. And then I'll also show you how easy it is to register. It's very simple, but we'll go ahead and start.
Did you know that over 760,000 real estate professionals have had situations where they feared for their safety when they enter a property alone with a stranger? The SafeShowings mobile app was developed by a realtor to give real estate professionals proactive control over their own safety. It is quick and easy to record names, automatically capture exact GPS addresses, and it prompts you to capture a secure image of each potential buyer's face, a feature unique to SafeShowings. Over 200 real estate professionals have been murdered in the last decade while showing homes to prospective buyers. SafeShowings provides protection and peace of mind for real estate agents, homeowners, and potential buyers as it aims to deter crime before it starts. With Safe Showings, real estate professionals and their loved ones feel more secure, knowing that Safe Showings will automatically notify them with identifying details and geolocation in an emergency. For more information, visit safeshowings.com. Find Safe Showings in the App Store or Google Play today and start feeling safe during showings and open houses.
What happened to me 4 years ago this past March, I was a new realtor here in Charleston, and I received a lead to go work with a buyer on a Saturday at 2. I set that appointment up. I drive up to the neighborhood early, about 15 or 20 minutes early. And when I did, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. It just didn't feel like a safe area. I'm sure you've been in situations similar to that, but we're taught from a safety standpoint to leave the door open. When the buyer arrives, I greet him, we go in the house, I leave the door open, and he goes to the back of the house. This is a pretty small house, but I stood toward the front, and he's on his cell phone. A minute later, a truck drove up. 2 men jumped on the porch, and that's when my heart stopped. I thought, oh my gosh, nobody knows where I am or who I'm with. I'll never forget that feeling of fear I felt in that split second. But I'm here to tell the rest of the story because nothing happened to me that day. What happened was they were driving by, they saw the for sale sign, they saw the realtor magnet on my car, and they noticed the door was open. So they just suddenly drove up into the yard and hopped up on the porch. But I gave them my card, regained my composure, told them I was working with a buyer and they could call me for an appointment. But I left that situation changed. I knew I never wanted to be caught in that same situation again because it's a terrifying feeling. And I did my research. I went home and I found out over 200 realtors have been murdered in the last decade. I didn't know that. I created this binder. I know it's kind of hard to see in this virtual background, but I read their stories, and that's where my passion, my why comes from, is they were not given a second chance. I guarantee you, if the 200 realtors that have been murdered could speak to us today, they would tell you they didn't know they were going to lose their life when they went to work with a buyer or a seller. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the faces you see right here, those are just 16 of those 200 that have lost their lives. Half are men and half are women. You can probably guess that because I am a female. I have a lot of friends, and whether it's family or friends, people hear about what I've created and they're like, oh, you should probably carry a gun. But the trend has changed in the last few years. There's actually been more murders of men. We're all just as much at risk because our career involves us working alone with strangers. So that's my why. I know you probably know about Beverly Carter. I'm friends with her son, Carl. We've done podcasts together, and he said, Helen, I think if my mom had had Safe Showings, she might be here today. That's another powerful reason for me to do what I do. I want to save lives. I want to protect our industry. But not only are we at risk working alone with buyers and sellers each day, we could be putting homeowners at risk, not on purpose, but think about it. What if your house was on the market? I could bring somebody in, they can look and see where your security systems are, where your child's bedroom is, and where you store your valuables. They could come back in 2 weeks or 2 months and harm you and your family. But because our industry doesn't have a law, policy, or mandate that holds us accountable for safety, we don't know how many crimes have been committed against homeowners. And I think that should change. Right out of college in 1986, I managed apartments in Sterling, Virginia. Even in the 80s, we made renters that want to see an empty apartment surrender their driver's license. They still do that today. And I think it's so interesting that they're showing prospective renters empty apartments. Nobody lives there. There's no valuables to take or children to harm. It's an empty apartment, and they are consistent with it. It's a mandate. Yet we represent the largest commodity you'll ever purchase in your lifetime, where children live and valuables are stored, and we don't have anything set in place for safety on a consistent basis. I would like to see that change. I did my research 4 years ago, this past March, after that situation happened. Really, honestly, I was looking for a solution. I had no idea I would be prompted or by God to create Safe Showings, because that's exactly what happened. I was looking for 3 things. I wanted to know, is there a way I can let buyers and sellers know I'm in control of my safety before I ever meet with them? That's super important. And then I also wanted to solve that feeling I felt that day when I said, nobody knows where I am or who I'm with. Most of the products, so we've been there 4 years, on the NAR website under safety resources, have the ability to alert your emergency contacts where you are. But let's think about it. 4 years ago, this past March, if I'm on the porch with 3 men and they have intentions to harm me or kill me, all that does is tell my 3 emergency contacts where to send the coroner to pick up my body. It's too late. It's reactive. There's a big difference between being proactive and reactive. And I don't carry a gun. I'm not against those that do. But if I had a gun 4 years ago, this past March, with 3 men standing there, knowing me, it would be in my purse. It wouldn't be on my hip. I don't need to accentuate that. So it would be in my purse, hidden. And I would have had to have the control, the ability to overpower 3 men, get it out of my purse and take it and use it to defend myself. So in that example, you can see how obvious it is not being proactive. If you do carry concealed permit and a weapon, be sure to tell every buyer and seller you do before you meet with them. Then it's powerful. They know that. Same thing with a background check. If you run a background check, but you're not telling anybody you're doing it, they don't know you're in control of safety. It's ineffective in that regard. If you have pepper spray, mace, a piece of jewelry, or you're relying on a lockbox, again, that's a last minute approach to safety. That's too late. It's better than nothing, but it's too late. I wouldn't be here to tell the story if those 3 men had intentions to harm me. Proactive approaches are just that. They're proactive. A number one fear that a criminal has is getting caught. They're cowards. It's not the punishment for the crime. They just don't want to get caught, right? So the way we become proactive in our industry is we set that up from the very beginning. We all set our appointments, whether you're using something like Showing Time or whatever. You're always going to have to talk to your buyer or seller on the phone before you set that appointment to get the arrangement on the time and where you're going to go. So while you're on the phone in the safety of your office, that's when you have the conversation. Hey, our association cares about safety. We use an app called SafeShowings, if you want to tell them what it's called. But more importantly, you're telling them that you have a safety app that you use, and you're required to get a photo before you enter a home. Then it becomes super powerful, because imagine you're talking to a criminal. Again, you can't talk to somebody on the phone and know if they're a criminal or not. We can't look at somebody and know if they're a criminal or not. So you have to be consistent. But let's say you're talking to the criminal on the phone and you have that conversation early. They're going to see you as not somebody they want to risk getting caught. You're like a doorbell camera. You're sending signals that, hey, I'm going to get you. Don't mess with me, but in a professional way. So that's why it's so important to have that conversation early. Doorbell cameras are effective. Stickers in the window that say there's a security system work. Statistics show those do deter crime, and they're proactive. We provide your association with talking points. So in your smaller group settings, if you want to review these, we have a safety toolkit, but it kind of gets you familiar with the verbiage we suggest. And it's different when you do an open house, right? Because you don't know who's coming. You can't have that conversation in advance, but you can still be proactive. You can greet them at the door or greet them outside and just say, hey, the homeowner has required I be accountable, so I have to take a photo before you enter their home. And if it's 10 people, it's that one actionable step of taking a picture, just one picture that can save your life and deter crime. I know I always try to get to my property 15 or 30 minutes ahead of time. And that works really well with our app, because you're driving up early, you get there before the buyer does if you're working with a buyer. And then while you're in the safety of your car, you press a button that says create showing and the timer starts. The next thing our app will say is, hey, who are you working with? That's how we know who the person is, right? We all know who we're meeting. They're in the contacts of your cell phone. You just start typing their name and touch on the phone number. It goes into our app. And then when they drive up, that's when you get out of the safety of your car. Hey, as I mentioned, I just need to get a quick photo. And you can be in it with them if you feel like you want to be part of the picture. But if it's 3 or 4 people, again, it's one picture, not 3 or 4 pictures. Keep it simple. We also have a newsletter we send out periodically just to remind you that your association is invested in your safety. We have rider signs and open house flyers. This is great for your listings to have the rider signs, Because guess what? It does two things. It tells everybody going by that property that this listing agent cares about safety. I'm going to remember them when I sell my house, but it tells every criminal going by, I'm not going to waste my time going in there and doing harm because I'm being videoed. These messages work. Even if there's not a camera, it's telling people that there is one that can save your life. Open houses, just put that flyer in an 8.5 by 11 frame, stick it on the kitchen counter, and it does work for you. Here's a quick demo of our app.
By downloading the SafeShowings app, you're proactively preparing to take advantage of more secure client contact when conducting open houses and showing appointments. Start by entering the emergency contacts of your choice, like friends, your broker, or family members. It's an easy one-step process. The app features an easy-to-adjust timer feature that will alert your emergency contacts if you've not responded during the time frame you have set. When showing properties, the app will track your exact location via the GPS feature. You can autofill your appointment's information right from the contacts in your phone. You can see that the app provides significant safety at this point, but there's more. When first meeting with the appointment, use your phone to snap a photo of the client. Research demonstrates that this approach is the best way to deter criminal behavior. Now your contacts will be notified if you don't check in based on the timer, and identifying information based on the photo from your showing. All of these features give you accountability for safely doing business during your showings and open houses. Following each showing, the app gives you the opportunity to make a record of the appointment. The app provides free form notes that the app will store for you. By the way, the SafeShowings app saves all the information from each showing so that you can go back and review your opportunities for sales. The open house feature provides the same great security options. Always be sure to get the facial image for all contacts during your open houses. There is a handy 5-star rating system for your showing contacts. This, along with your notes, can alert you and others of potential problems from a suspicious person or from any previous showing.
I mentioned I get a lot of the same questions about our app, so I spend a few moments going over the common questions and answers. Regarding the image of the face, I usually hear 3 questions. People will say, why are you so passionate about getting an image of a face? The second question is so common, and I thought this too, I'm sure. That day that happened to me, I cared more about the sale than my safety. So we're so afraid of rejection, we don't put our safety first. So that's the question I get. What do the buyers and sellers say when you tell them you're going to be taking their photo on the phone? And then the third one is, where does that image go? The first question is kind of a cool story. Right after that situation happened 4 years ago, and I was doing my research, and we released the first version of our app in September. That following May, I traveled to the NAR conference in DC to look at the trade show floor, view and see who the competitors are, get ideas and stuff like that before I traveled for 2 years to promote SafeShowings. And I was up early. I'd been out with South Carolina realtors the night before. I wanted coffee and breakfast, and there's these stairs, and there's this guy standing right in the middle of the stairs. He looks like Duck Dynasty, and he says, "Who are you?" And I jumped back, and I'm looking behind me, and he said, "I saw you on the airplane. I saw you 2 more times. I told myself if I ever saw you again, I was going to find out who you are and what you do." That's how God works in my life. He puts people right in front of me, and it's not an accident. But anyway, when I met with Noah, when I got back to Charleston, we sat down in his office, and he said, "Why are you getting an image of a driver's license?" Because that's the first version of our app. We were passionate about that. I told him why, and he said, "Helen, you need to get an image of their face." And I was like, "Well, I didn't even think about that." And he said, "You need to think about it, because when you tell somebody you're going to take a photo, that's powerful. They can't say they forgot their face, when you're using a camera, and they can't fake it when you're using a camera." So that's why we get an image of a face. It's just so much more effective. We gave this presentation to the chief of police in Charleston, and he said, "You're making our job so much easier." The second question I hear is about, what do people say when you tell them you're going to do that when you're setting your appointment? they are going to respect you. If you reverse the role, let's say you're the buyer, or you have a house you're going to sell, you're a listing client, and you're talking to a realtor and they're being professional with you. You already have confidence in them. You're at the point of setting the appointment and they say, hey, I just want you to know we care about safety. Our association requires us to be accountable for safety, and we take a photo of everyone before we go in a home. If you're working with a listing client, they're going to love that automatically because they know you're going to be safe when you're showing their house. You're getting an accountability, a record of someone's face. But if they're a buyer, they should also respect us in our industry. I don't get pushback. People understand. If somebody gets upset with you on the phone, that should be a red flag. The hair on the back of your neck stands up. That should be an indicator that maybe you don't want to work with them, or maybe you want to bring them to the office or take someone with you. That's your warning. So we don't get pushback. The third question, where does that photo go? It does not go to your camera section on your phone. It goes to our cyber secure cloud. The reason for that is if I'm attacked in the front yard when I try to take the photo, they can destroy my phone as long as I create the showing when I was in the safety of the car and the timer started. And then the app says, who are you going to meet with? That's important. You want to put in who your appointment's with, because we keep all that information in the cyber secure cloud. So my phone's destroyed. My 3 emergency contacts will still be sent the last location of the phone, who I'm with. And if I did take that photo, they're going to see that photo. The main screen starts at 45 minutes and counts down. That's because most of us can get in and out of a property in less than 15. We don't want to call for help accidentally. Our app's built so that all you need to do is be able to push a button. You don't have to type anything anywhere. It's super simple. So it starts at 45 minutes, it counts down. I know we get distracted and we're looking at the MLS or we're looking at some documents on our phone. If it gets down to 5 minutes and you have not reset your timer, it sends you a warning. It supersedes, just like any text message. It says, are you safe? Reset your timer. That's your last warning. If the 5 minutes run out, your 3 emergency contacts will be alerted. But we do give you that warning. I teach realtors, if you follow the process we're teaching you to do, you're not working with a criminal, number one. They're not going to want to work with you. You're not an easy target. But reset your timer often as they're looking at the cabinets or whatever. Just hit reset timer. It goes back 45 minutes. If you have multiple showings, reset your timer, hop in your car, street by street, road by road. This is updating instantly. It's really cool how that works. It's over my head. I just have ideas. Coders and developers did it all for me. But as you put the car in park, your second showing address is saved. And then you have the picture of who you're with right here. The top left corner is the menu section, just like every app. It has the history of your showings. It has your profile information, your emergency contacts, the open house feature, where it prompts you how many hours and how many minutes are you going to be there. And it calculates that total time. It could be 410 minutes, whatever, puts it right there. You don't have to calculate the time. Then at the very bottom, this is the button I would have pressed 4 years ago, this past March. You do have a 2-second approach. Press menu, emergency alarm. Instead of waiting 19 minutes to count down to call for help, it calls 911 in 10 seconds. And it's in your 3 emergency contacts, your exact location, who you're with, and an image of their face. We have this talking point graphic just illustrating how to handle open houses. As I mentioned earlier, we don't know who's coming to an open house, so we have to treat it differently, but it's just as important that we put safety first. So you greet them outside or at the door, say, hey, y'all are welcome to come inside. The homeowner has required I be accountable. I just need to get a photo. And if there's 10 people, it's 1 picture. Simplify the process. And then we keep, as you heard in the video, we store every single showing you have in our app. Again, it's pushing buttons. You're not typing in anything anywhere unless you choose to. There is an optional note section where you can put, in the video it said buying in September, but you can skip that. You don't have to put a note in at all. And then, so you can see who the person is you work with, what property address was that you showed, the date and the time. The first button you press in our app after you register is called Create Showing. I'm pretty logical. I tried to make this super simple. At the end of your showing, when you end a showing and you're finished and you're getting in the privacy of your car, you press a button that says end showing, the timer stops. Then it's going to ask you to rate how you felt working with the person from a safety standpoint. This is for us to build a database to help each other, just like Uber and Lyft. You know, when you're in an Uber Lyft, you're prompted to rate how you felt. And it makes you put at least 1 star. You can't give somebody 0 stars. But I was working with Kim Hall. That's her unique phone number. She comes to your area. You're on the phone with her and you do what we teach. And you're saying, hey, I do look forward to seeing you, Kim, Saturday at 2. I just want you to know we use Safe Showings. It's a realtor safety app. We're required to do so by our association. And she's probably going to interrupt you and say, oh, I know about that app. I work with Helen in Charleston. But even if she doesn't, while you are in the safety of your office for every call or every appointment you have that you've set, when you hang up the phone, you can just grab the app while you're in the safety of your office, click create showing. It says, who are you going to meet with? You auto-populate Kim Hall. You have her number right in your contacts of your phone. You touch on her phone number and you'll see 1 realtor rated this client. And if there's 10, you can view all the ratings. And that's how we help each other. That's when you do want to write a note. If I had a bad situation, I have to give her at least 1 star, but I'm going to put, call me. I want to explain to you what happened when I was working with this person. Be safe. If your timer runs out, and you can imagine, as I tested my app, I've tested it many times, you want to choose 3 emergency contacts that are going to respond to you, like my sister, she always does. You pick 3, you have to put in 3, but the timer runs out. Your 3 emergency contacts will be sent a text message at the same time saying there might be a problem. There'll be a 3D image of where you are. We did that because sometimes if you're showing a condo or a townhouse, it's a little more confusing, but it'll have the exact address. It'll have the person's name. We have their phone number in the cyber secure cloud and the photo that you take. The reason we say it that way is because I cannot control what you take a picture of. I'm not holding your phone. So hopefully it's somebody's face, not a squirrel, not a coffee mug or your hand, but somebody's face. Seriously though, if there's a crime committed, you would want it to be the person's face. Just think about that and put your safety first. We may add a background check feature in the future, but our pricing would change. And I don't think it's necessary. We teach realtors when you're working with buyers and sellers and there's no cell signal, the best approach is to always role play it the same way, no matter what. Hey, I look forward to meeting you Saturday at 2. I just want you to know we use Safe Showings and we're required to get a photo before we enter a property. If you know there's no cell signal, you could say, by the way, why don't we meet at Starbucks on 100 Main Street or whatever. And that's where you start the app. You take the photo. Then when you drive up to the property, you lose cell signal, but everything's in the cyber secure cloud. In that scenario, always, if you know ahead of time there's no cell signal, let your 3 emergency contacts know where you're going to be and when to check on you. Second scenario, or the best scenario, is carry a mobile router, so you always have cell signal. And then the last scenario is you might be new in the business and you haven't previewed the property and but you did role play it. You told them you use Safe Showings. You get there early, always. That's why it's so important to arrive before the buyer. And you realize right then and there when you're parked, oh no, I can't use this app. That's when you text or call your 3 emergency contacts and tell them where you are, when to check on you, and still role play it the same way. The buyer doesn't necessarily know there's no cell signal. So when they arrive, you get out of the safety of your car and say, hey, as I mentioned, I just need to get that photo before we go in the property. It's still an actionable step that can deter crime. And then your association's already invested in your safety. Again, do not go to the app store. If you do, you'll be prompted to pay for it, and we'll get you straightened out if you've already done so. But please use the link that's provided by your association so you can get it for free. These are our partners, and I'm share one quick testimonial video, and then I'll show you how to access it for free.
We know there's a lot of risk in life, but going to work shouldn't be one of them. And so Idaho Realtors wanted to provide our members with a tool that can help make them safe. And we believe the Safe Showings app does this. We're just excited to be able to bring one more tool to the table, something that realtors can use, that hopefully the brokerages will incorporate this into their regular standard of practices, just so that the realtors can just be safe, so that their brokerage and their coworkers can know who they're working with, who they're with, and reasonable expectation of when they should hear back from them. So we're hoping that agents can take situations that may be opportunities and take those opportunities for harm, to take those away.
Now I'll share with you how to access the app for free. And I'll be sending over a QR code just so you have it. Let me see if this is right. Pull this up. My laptop's a little slow. Basically, we created a unique code for your association, and you have to use that code in order to get it for free. You can't go to the App Store. It'll cause an error message, and we would have to unregister you. It takes about 24 hours to resolve stuff like that. It's not a big deal, but just to save yourself frustration, follow the link that you're provided. And then in the second, under number 2, you can watch that video again. If you want to, it was kind of fast. You saw how it worked, but you want to learn more about it, you can click that link. Now I'm going to show you the recorded registration. This is pre-recorded by me, and you'll see how easy it is to register. And you only do this once, but here we go. Hi, I'm Helen Hudson, the founder of SafeShowings. I'm also a realtor in Charleston, South Carolina. I created SafeShowings because 3 years ago, I had a situation where I feared my own personal safety. You're receiving this video because your MLS, association, or brokerage has purchased SafeShowings Enterprise for you, so congratulations. In order to receive it for free, you do have to follow the instructions on this flyer. It's super simple. You click under option 1 there, the download button, the download link. It takes you to this screen, then you press the button that says register here. Then it takes you to this step where you enter your cell phone number, your first name, your last name, your email address. Be careful when you're typing in all this information, make sure it's accurate, and also create a password. Then click the agree to terms and press proceed. The next thing that'll happen is you'll receive a 4-digit code to your cell phone. Enter the 4-digit code here and press the button. It will take you to this screen. The last step is you click the button that says send the link. The link goes to your phone. If you have an iPhone, you click the first option at the top that's highlighted. If you have an Android, you click the one for Android. Then if you want to know more about our app, under option 2, you can click learn how it works, and it takes you to this instructional video.
By downloading SafeShowings.
And everybody saw that already. It's in the recorded version. Now I want to take time to answer any questions. If you want to be on unmute yourself, or if there are questions in the chat room, if you'll let me know what those questions are, that would be great. I usually get a couple of questions. That's why I bring the PowerPoint back up in case you have questions. And if you think of questions after this is over and you want to email those to us at info@safeshowings.com, or, I'm happy to answer questions at any time.
Helen?
Yes.
When I signed up for this webinar, my thinking was I'm probably going to be the only male there because females, I would think, probably fear more for their safety than guys. I'm not a linebacker. I don't know martial arts. I don't carry a gun. I don't even own a gun. And if I did and I had one at a showing, chances are if somebody else is going to be trying to take advantage of you, they may have a gun. And there might even be more than one of them. So, what are your chances of surviving, even if you do have a gun? I was surprised with the statistics that you mentioned that over the last decade, of those 20 realtors that were murdered, half of them were men. Do you notice statistically, was there any common denominator there? Like they were in war zones, they were showings in the twilight or the evening or something like that?
I don't see, and let me back up for a second. Over 200 realtors have been murdered in the last decade.
Oh,
and
sorry.
There are cases of 16 of those. And I read the stories of the 16. I got most of my information either through Google or from NAR, and talking to other people that are passionate about safety, like Carl Carter, Beverly's son. I don't know if you've heard him speak, but the information I was trying to point out about the faces you see here is to me, it's no coincidence. I happen to have a book where I printed out what happened, how they lost their lives, and half are men and half are women. And in the last year and a half or 2 years, we've had more. I'll just point out who was, I know this person's at Hampton Roads, Virginia. He was murdered a year ago, October. She was murdered about December a year ago in Florida. He was murdered a couple of years ago, I think on the East Coast. And this one's fairly recent. He was actually showing one of his own rental properties. They found his body under a stairwell. I point out the fact that we're all vulnerable, because we are. You can see just by looking at some of the facial images, these aren't small guys.
Yeah.
They probably didn't see it coming. This guy was hit in the back of the head while he was sitting in his car, if I remember correctly. The murders were gruesome too. Some were set on fire, stabbed with the fire poker that you would use in your fireplace, multiple gunshots, stab wounds. I'm just pointing out the risks are there. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, or even if you carry a gun. We all work alone, so we have to be more careful than those that don't have to work alone. So
Right. The risk is always there, even with this app. One of the things I really like about having their picture taken up front is facial recognition is used so much. I mean, it's everywhere. You go to the mall, you go in stores. I mean, almost anywhere you go, there's cameras typically by local authorities or by the owners of those establishments. You go into a bar, a restaurant, they're there too. So this only would help if you are attacked or worse, murdered. This having their picture taken with this app would certainly help law enforcement using facial recognition to nail these people and put them away for the rest of their life.
Absolutely. In fact, I usually say that when I go through the questions and answers, because you point out a good point. Big Brother has us everywhere, between pictures and videos, doorbell cameras, ATMs, banks, even hospitals or doctor's offices are taking your photo. Airports do it. So if somebody's pushing back and you wanted to have that conversation, and we've had a roundtable discussion with local realtors here, we all agree, oh my gosh, your photo's out there. If somebody's pushing back because of that, that should be a wake-up call. And you're right, I can't guarantee it'll save a life, but go back to the thought process of a criminal not wanting to get caught. If you're in control of safety and you're telling them you use a safety app called SafeShowings and you're required to take a photo before you enter a property, hopefully that step, right, that's why it's so important to say it, is what's going to save your life. They're going to hang up the phone with you, and either you won't hear from them again, or they're going to get angry and hang up on you and you won't hear from them again. And they're going to go look for a realtor that's less in control, that's more vulnerable than you, that doesn't have a policy for safety. Unfortunately, that's how it works. They're looking for easy targets.
I just have one more thing to say. I don't want to dominate the Q&A session here. Sorry that I've taken so much time, but I have a doorbell camera on my house. I have additional cameras that I had up before I got the doorbell camera, and they still work. Last fall, about 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, police knocked on my door, woke me up. There was a drive-by shooting right across the street from me. I live in a good neighborhood. Problem was, the people that lived in that house, they came up from a part of the city that's not real great. And I think they brought some of their issues up with them. It turns out it was drugs, but the cops knocked on my door because they wanted the video footage so they could nail these people. So, hey, if there's ever a doubt in anybody's mind that cameras don't work, believe me, they do. Thank you for the presentation too, by the way.
That is a great point. And another thing that when I talk about the flyers that we have and the open house, the rider sign, this again, even if you're not worried about using a safety app, we should always tell our buyers before we enter a property, hey, I just want you to know there's cameras. They're going to be recording us. We don't want to talk any personal information or what we plan to offer, or just keep your thoughts to yourself until we get out of the home. But assume and tell every buyer before you enter a house that there's cameras. I hate to lie, but just assume that there are. But it can save your life, and it can save your deal if they're a legitimate buyer, because we all know sometimes people say things they shouldn't inside the home, and it can make your deal or break your deal. So, but I care more about the safety. So I think it's super important to send that message that, oh, there's cameras in here. I looked at the listing notes, and we just need to be careful what we say when we're inside the home.
Helen, thank you very much for this today. I really appreciate it. My name's Barb Matty, and I actually teach a lot of the safety courses for a couple of the associations locally. One question I have, so you had talked about possibly adding the background check to the app. I do use a separate app that does the background checks, and it has been a huge help for me, especially when handling any rental properties, just to know whether I should be bringing somebody with me or not.
Right.
The amount of times that I've run into the potential of a showing being someone who has recently been released from jail has been numerous in our area, since we're right outside Philadelphia. And to know that ahead of time, I think has been a big help.
I'm familiar with Forewarn, and most of our partners use both. That's why I've considered adding a background check feature, but our costs would be out the roof. I mean, I want it to be affordable. I want to ask you, and let me just say what I hear when I ask associations that are using Forewarn how their members are positioning it. The common answer I get is, number one, a lot of executive officers aren't sure. They don't know what the realtors are saying, or if there's concern for me is fair housing and code of ethics. But most important on top of that is your safety. So if I'm using Forewarn, I would want to say to my buyers and sellers, hey, I just want you to know that our association requires us to run a background check on everyone before we go work with someone. It's just the world we live in. Then if they're a criminal, again, they're going to see that you're in control. I would think some criminals might have a way of giving you a bad phone number. I don't know. I'm just thinking that there's probably a way.
The app that I am talking about is Forewarn, and if they do give us a bad phone number, it shows up through that app. It's not associated, like the name and the phone number won't match. The information that they're releasing on that app is actually public information. So they can't, there's no, you could find it multiple different ways if you wanted to dig hard enough for it. It's just easy to find with this app.
The only thing, and I think it's a great, powerful tool. I just would suggest people let buyers and sellers know that they do it, they're required to do it. That way, if they are a criminal, let's say somehow they get away with sending you information that you don't see anything, there's no red flags, but because they don't know you're in control, they see you as vulnerable. So it's just a thought.
Yeah, it's not meant to be the credit score or the deciding factor for whether or not you're approving them for rental. All it does is provide me the information as to whether I should be by myself or with someone else.
Yes,
and
I like it. I do. We may end up adding it. It would just be a different product. We would have to roll it out at a different price to partner with a third-party company that does those background checks. But that we're considering it, but it's probably going to another year or two before.
I understand. I would also if you're open, because I do a lot of these teachings, if I could beg you for some of these slides, that would be really helpful.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Definitely.
I appreciate it.
I can send that to Lisa.
Yes.
You want some slides? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Send it to Lisa and she'll have it.
Yeah.
Share with you.
Thank you.
And I did put the link from our website into the chat for everybody to click on, or just go into our website under member benefits, and it says Safe Showings, and it'll give you the directions like Helen showed. But make sure to go through here and not through the app itself, correct?
Mhm.
Don't go to the App Store.
I think we've had people do that and call us, so.
Yes. Anything else? Anybody have any other questions? Well, I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's coming up quickly.
Is well, thank you so much, Helen, for this today. And again, this has been recorded. It will be sent out to everyone, to all members actually. So, but if if you want, please share it with your colleagues, and have a great holiday, everyone. And we'll see you soon. And thanks, Helen.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good holiday.
Bye-bye.